Hello there. I'm your storyteller for tonight. Take a deep breath in through your nose and gently let it out. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands grow still. You've come here to rest, and you've come to a familiar voice. Tonight, I'll take you somewhere quiet, somewhere warm. Imagine the air of a summer evening, soft and full of life. A chorus of crickets hums in the distance. The last golden light of day brushes across the fields and wooden fences. You're in Vermont, a place of maple trees, mountain roads, and the calm rhythm of small towns. Here, time moves a little slower, and everything feels touched by memory. So settle in. Let your body sink into the bed or couch. Let your mind drift between the sound of my voice and the stillness around you. This is a summer evening in Vermont. The road finds you in the gentlest way, like a ribbon set down across the soft hills, guiding you along without hurry. Gravel whispers underfoot, and somewhere to your left, a meadow leans toward the evening. The air is warm, easy, touched by the faintest sweetness of cut hay and the green breath of maples. A fence runs alongside the lane, its posts worn smooth by weather and time. And beyond it, the last light spreads itself thin across the tops of the grasses, as if the day is laying a quilt over the land before sleep. Ahead, the old house waits the way a familiar face waits at a train platform, not pressing forward, not calling, just being there in its whole, patient self. White clapboard, paint a little chalky at the edges, windows holding pale gold light like cupped palms. The porch runs the width of the front, boards silvery with age, a rocker to one side and a neat stack of firewood to the other, even though it's summer and the stove won't be needed. The path bends past a lilac bush. The bloom's long gone now, but the memory of their perfume lingers, stored in the wood and screen door, where anyone who has ever arrived in June might still smell it in their mind. You step up, and the porch boards answer with a low, friendly creak, the kind of sound that tells you you're in the right place. There's a faint click from somewhere inside as the small kitchen clock marks another minute. Crickets lift their song in the hedgerow, steady as breathing. In the field beyond the house, a line of maples deepens into silhouette, each leaf rimmed with a smear of gold that fades, breath by breath, as evening gathers. The screen door is light and old-fashioned, and when you pull it open, it speaks a gentle, springy note, a small twang of wire and wood that might be the most Vermont sound you can imagine if you've been here before. Inside, the entrance is cool and shaded. There's the long, quiet hallway and a set of stairs on the right, where a runner softens each step. Boots sit on a mat by the baseboard, waiting for morning. A straw hat hangs by a nail. On a little table rests a glass jar with a handful of smooth, lake-worn stones, their colors muted like the inside of a seashell. You don't need to turn any lights on because the house seems to glow of its own accord, a soft gathering of what daylight remains. In the kitchen beyond, a window frames the orchard. The trees stand like old friends, their branches gentle and open-handed. A kettle sits on the stove, the kind with a handle that warms under your palm. A loaf of bread cools on a wire rack. The knife beside it holds a thin crescent of flour at the tip, as if the baker just stepped out to watch the sunset and will be right back. Each step deeper into the house draws your shoulders lower, your breath longer. Here is the deep sigh you came for. Here are the simple things, lining themselves up the way cows make their own path back to the barn. A woven rug, a jar of wooden spoons, a calendar on the wall with the days crossed in pencil, a tiny brass bell near the back door, its rope frayed by years of gentle pulls to call someone in from the garden. The air tastes faintly of vanilla and cedar, with a little curl of something toasty, like a memory of morning coffee held in the rafters. You drift to the sink and touch the porcelain lip, cool and smooth. Beyond the window, the orchard grass is lower where a path is kept, and at its edge, a low stone wall draws a line that nobody minds crossing. Fireflies begin to appear, the very first few, spaced out like cautious ideas, small points that blink in easy rhythm. A little breeze moves through the open window and lifts the corner of a dish towel, then lets it fall, as if the house itself is breathing. In that movement, you feel your own chest loosening, your hands settling, a little space opening between thoughts so something quieter can pass through. You could stay inside, but the porch calls again, softly. You answer without words, stepping back out, letting the screen door close with its gentle note. The rocker faces west. You sit, and the wood accepts your weight, as if it was made for you, as if the rocker has been keeping count of every evening like this, and knows exactly how to hold you. The grain under your fingers is satin smooth. The rhythm arrives by itself, forward and back, a measure of time that doesn't belong to clocks. From here, the road is just a suggestion, a pale thread where the dust has settled. Across it, the meadow hums with small life. Grasshoppers knock through the stems. A hermit thrush gives a final liquid phrase from the edge of the woods, fluted, distant, a sound of water made into music. Then the thrush falls silent, and the crickets take the evening alone. A pickup rolls past far down the hill, muffled by distance. You can almost smell the faint diesel of a hay baler carried on a slow swirl of air, paired with the sharper green of broken stems from the afternoon's cutting. The sun slips lower, and a long band of light moves across the painted porch floor like a river of gold. It thins, then breaks, and soon only the rails of the balusters carry a glow, and then even that is gone, replaced by a soft, even blue. You think of the first time you came here, and the time before that, and the times you only imagined you had. The house holds them without effort. It doesn't sort them or weigh them or judge them. It simply expands to include whatever you bring, then eases your grip until you set it down. Generations might have done the same. Hands on the same rail, feet on the same boards, faces tipped to the same slices of sky. Somewhere on the far side of the barn, a wind chime answers a breeze with a small, friendly clink, the kind of note that tells you everything's in its place. A moth taps the porch like glass and drifts away, satisfied with the evening. The orchard at the edge of the yard darkens to charcoal shapes, and the old stone wall grows softer, its edges dissolved into the open hand of night. If you look carefully, the first stars reveal themselves in pairs, then in clusters, not sharp but velvety, as if someone stitched them into the sky with thick thread. High above, a line of cloud receives the last of the daylight and holds it a little longer, a thin ribbon that slowly cools from peach to rose to blue. The rocker keeps its pace, forward and back. You can measure your breaths by it if you like, in for the forward, out for the back. The night agrees, steadying you. There is nothing here that needs deciding. The world has chosen its place for the next few hours. The house will keep its quiet. The field will sing its cricket song. The maples will stand guard, shoulders together, leaf to leaf. You are not asked for anything but presence, and even that is optional. When the air lifts again, it brings the faintest trace of the lake, clean and cool, as if someone opened a door to a room made of water. It is far, but not so far. You cannot feel that broad body of calm there in the west, flattening itself to mirror the sky. The thought of it is enough, as if the lake is a sleeping friend, close enough to hear if you speak softly. You begin to imagine the path that leads there, past the stone wall, across the orchard, through a stand of birch where the trunks make a pale congregation in the dusk, and onward to where the ground drops gently and the cattails begin. You won't go tonight. Tonight is for arriving. Inside, the kitchen clock notes another minute. The sound threads the evening like a stitch. You rise and step through the doorway, letting the rocker continue a moment on its own before it settles. The floorboards are warm underfoot, storing the day. On the counter, a small bowl holds a handful of strawberries, and beside it, a spoon rests, still shining from a recent rinse. You pour water into the kettle and set it on the stove. The kettle's weight is a promise of small comfort. You know where the mugs are without looking. You know where the tea tin sits, the lid snapping softly when you open it, the leaves inside releasing their gentle scent. Cut, grass, faint honey, a memory of rain on a summer porch. Steam comes slowly. You can listen to it beginning if you lean close. A thrumming, then a little rattle, like the kettle is clearing its throat to tell you a story. You pour, and the water darkens with ease. A ribbon of warmth rises and meets your face. You take the cup to the porch and hold it in both hands. The rim is smooth and reassuring. The heat is steady. You breathe in and out, and your breath blends with the quiet night, becoming part of the place until it is impossible to tell where you end and the evening begins. When the first fireflies gather in earnest along the grass, you let your gaze follow them. Their lights do not ask for attention. They offer it and then release it, the way kind words are given. They light the path that isn't a path, and the field that isn't a map, and still somehow your thoughts find their way through. A dog barks once in the distance, then decides that's work for another time. A door closes somewhere with a soft finality. The town itself seems to lower its eyes for sleep. You set the cup down and rest your palms flat on your thighs. There's a small ache that belonged to the day in the shoulders or the lower back, and you can feel it loosening, untying its own knot, as if the body remembers how to do this without instruction. You give it time. One more breath in a rhythm that makes sense. The slow draw that gathers the scent of evening, and the slow release that lays it down again. When you finally stand, the house meets you at the threshold. You tilt the porch light off, and the dark grows pleasing around you, like velvet that gives, like a room designed for quiet thought. The screen door makes its small note, and you answer with a hand along the hall table, fingertips over the smooth stones in the jar, each one cool and complete. Up the stairs, each step a soft press, a small yielding. The runner holds your feet with a kindness you've known all your life, even if you only now recognize it. At the top, the room is held in gentle order. A quilt folded back. A window lifted halfway to welcome the night. On the dresser, a pitcher and a shallow bowl that no one uses but no one would move. The scent of clean cotton and cedar. The lake breath finds you here too, cooler now, guided by the quiet corridor of the hall. You cross the room, steady, and place your hand on the windowsill, worn smooth by summer after summer of leaning out to listen. From here, you can hear the maples speaking in their leaf language, a low hush full of reassurance. The road is only an idea now. The field is a sound more than a sight. The stars do their work without comment. The house holds still, the way an old friend holds a secret. You draw the sheet up. The linen answers with a whisper. The mattress remembers you with its soft giving. Your breath slows as if it has reached the center of a spiral. And there, without urgency, it turns. The kettle in the kitchen releases. One last cool tick as it settles. The clock counts another minute, then another. But you have slipped into a place below minutes. The porch rocker rests, its motion held in reserve for some later evening. The orchard waits in its gentle rows. The lake lies where it always lies, a dark calm mirror under the paler calm of the sky. And you, newly arrived, belong to it all. Arrival is enough. Arrival is the whole story, and the beginning of the next. The evening settles over the valley like a soft quilt, stitched with the hum of insects and the faint creak of wood cooling after the heat of the day. The house holds its silence with the patience of something that has seen 100 summers come and go. You are back on the porch, and everything around you feels both ancient and immediate, as if this exact hour has been waiting for you to notice it again. The air has that particular sweetness only Vermont can make, a blend of grass, maple, and faraway rain. The hills still hold the day's warmth, releasing it now in gentle waves that lift and fall like slow breath. Across the meadow, the faint outline of the barn leans into the dusk, its roof catching a last faint stripe of light. A breeze passes through the lilacs, and the sound is like a quiet sigh, the kind you make when something inside you finally unclenches. You sit again in the old rocking chair. It meets you with the same easy rhythm as before, a steady, unhurried motion that asks for nothing. Each creak of the floorboards beneath is its own kind of music, low, honest, and reassuring. The air moves through the screens in slow tides. You can smell the tea you made earlier. It is cooled, but still holds the faintest memory of warmth. Somewhere far off, the church bell from the town centre rings 7 slow notes. It doesn't rush. Each chime leaves a small silence behind it, and those silences seem almost louder than the sound. You remember that in this part of Vermont, people set their clocks by the bell, not because they need to, but because it feels right, as if the hour itself should be something shared. The road beyond the fence is quiet. A single truck passes, its tires whispering over the dirt. You hear it long before you see it. First the low growl, then the faint shimmer of headlights that skim the edge of the trees, then nothing. Dust rises, hangs like smoke, and disappears into the evening. In the yard, fireflies are beginning their patient work again. They blink without pattern or plan, and yet somehow they make order out of chaos. Each light feels like a tiny promise, proof that the night is alive, but gentle. You let your eyes move across the landscape and realize how much of this country seems built to slow the human pulse. The rolling fields, the steady song of the crickets, the horizon that doesn't demand attention but rewards it. Every inch of it whispers the same quiet truth. You are safe here. You can rest here. Inside, a lamp clicks on. Its golden glow spills through the lace curtain, painting thin lines across the porch. The scent of cedar mixes with something faintly sweet, perhaps pie cooling on the counter, Or maybe just the ghost of one from years before. The house feels awake but peaceful, as if it's breathing along with you. A chair scrapes softly across the kitchen floor. The sound means someone else is home. You don't turn right away. You just listen. Footsteps. The familiar shuffle of slippers on wood. A door opens and closes. Then the soft clatter of dishes being stacked. No hurry, no noise wasted. When the screen door opens, you feel the air move before you see the figure. It's an older man. Silver hair, suspenders, linen shirt rolled at the sleeves. His face carries the kind of calm you only get from living the same way, in the same place, for a very long time. He nods once, not out of politeness, but recognition. The kind of nod that says, "You're back. It's good you came." He sits in the chair beside you. No words for a while. Just the twin rhythm of two rockers, forward and back. The light dims a little more. The first star shows itself above the line of pines. The man takes a slow breath and says quietly, "You picked the right night." You answer without speaking. A small smile, a look toward the horizon. He understands that as clearly as any sentence. Conversation in places like this doesn't need to fill the air. It only needs to touch it. After a while, he leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Funny thing about this porch," he says. "When you sit out here long enough, you start to think the world's still turning just for you." He pauses, looks out at the field. Of course, it's turning for everyone else too. But somehow it feels closer here, like you can hear it hum. You listen. There is a hum, not from machinery or traffic, but from the living night itself. The insects, the wind moving through the grass, the faint pulse of wings somewhere unseen. It's a hum that feels like the earth's heartbeat, slowed down to match your own. The man reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small pocket knife, opens it with a flick that's more muscle memory than motion, and begins to shave thin curls of wood from a twig he's been holding. Each curl falls like paper onto the porch boards. The scent of pine rises, sharp and clean. He doesn't look up as he speaks. "My father used to sit right there where you are, every night after supper. Never said much, just listened. Said if you listen long enough, you start to hear the difference between silence and peace. You think about that, the difference between the two. Silence can be empty, but peace is full, like air right before rain, or the pause after a song ends. What you hear now is peace." The man folds the knife closed and sets it on the rail. "You'll hear the whip-poor will soon," he says. "Always the same pair. They've been nesting out past the orchard for years." He's right. A few minutes later, the sound begins. A long, rising call that repeats in patient rhythm, echoing across the fields. It feels like part of the night's architecture, something essential to its balance. You sit until the crickets soften, until the stars multiply, until even the air seems to move slower. The man stands, stretches, and gives a small nod toward the kitchen. "Pie's still warm," he says, as if that's all the reason you'd ever need to get up. You follow him inside. The screen door closes behind you with its familiar spring sound. The kitchen light wraps around you both. The pie, blueberry maybe, sits on the counter, dark and glossy under the lamplight. He cuts 2 slices, places one before you, and the smell is pure summer. Sweet fruit, butter, and sugar browned to perfection. You eat in silence, each bite carrying its own kind of memory. The house ticks gently, expanding and contracting with the night air. The window is open, and the sound of the whip-paw wheels drifts in like a lullaby written for no one in particular. When you finish, the man rinses the plates and sets them in the rack. He doesn't look up when he says, "You can always tell what kind of day you had by how quiet the evening feels." You let the words hang there. They feel like they belong to the room. You look once more out through the window, the yard glowing faintly under starlight, the porch chair still moving a little from where you left it, as if it's remembering the rhythm. The man turns off the lamp. The dark fills the space in one smooth motion. He gives you another small nod and heads toward the hall, the floor creaking softly beneath him. You stay a moment longer, just listening to the pulse of the place, the whip-paw wheels, the kettle's faint tick, the whole world slowing itself down so you don't have to. When you finally move, it's without sound. You step back to the porch, lean on the rail, and breathe in the Vermont night, a mix of wood smoke, meadow, and memory. The stars have settled into their patterns now, as if they've found where they belong. You close your eyes, and in the stillness between heartbeats, you realize this isn't a place you visit. It's a place that welcomes you back each time you remember how to arrive. And so the porch holds you, and the night keeps you, until even thought begins to drift. Morning in Vermont begins without effort. It doesn't rise or announce itself. It unfolds. The first sign is the hush before the light, when the sky takes on a color you can't quite name. Not gold, not grey, but something between the two, like the quiet thought before a word is spoken. The hills hold that stillness for a long moment before letting the day begin. You wake to the scent of maple and wood smoke. The old house is warm, patient, alive in its slow rhythm. From downstairs comes the soft clatter of dishes, the scrape of a chair, and the faint sound of the man humming the same tune he must have hummed for decades. The air smells faintly of coffee and toast. When you move, the floor greets you with the small, familiar groan of age. At the window, the view opens into light. The orchard glistening with morning dew, the fence catching a thin line of sun, and beyond that, a dirt road curving toward the village. The road looks like a story waiting to be retold. By the time you reach the porch, the air has shifted. Cooler now, with a hint of promise in it. The man is already outside, sitting with a newspaper folded neatly beside him. He nods toward the horizon. "Town will be waking up soon," he says. "You'll want to see it." He doesn't need to tell you twice. The path to the village winds through meadows where grass leans under its own weight. Bees move lazily between clover blossoms, and dragonflies flash blue and green in the sun. The sound of running water grows louder as you near the small bridge that crosses a narrow stream. The bridge is old, wooden, its beams worn smooth by rain and footsteps. Beneath it, water slips over stones, making the kind of music that never grows old. Beyond the bridge, the town begins to appear, not all at once, but in fragments. The bell tower first, rising from a cluster of maples. Then the general store, its sign swaying gently in the breeze. A few pickup trucks parked at angles that suggest everyone knows everyone else. The faint sound of laughter from somewhere near the diner. You follow the smell of coffee and cinnamon to the heart of the town. The diner's screen door opens with a sigh, and the world inside greets you with warmth and chatter. There's a rhythm to it, the scrape of forks on plates, the clink of mugs, the murmur of easy conversation. The waitress behind the counter looks up and smiles like she's been expecting you. "Morning," she says, in a tone that stretches the word into something almost musical. "You look like you need something strong." You nod, and she pours. The coffee is dark, rich, alive with the taste of early hours. You find a seat by the window, and outside, the day begins in small human gestures. A boy on a bicycle tosses newspapers with the precision of someone who's been doing it since spring. Two old men in overalls lean on the tailgate of a truck, discussing the weather as if it's a sacred ritual. A woman sweeps the porch of the flower shop, pausing now and then to wave at passing cars. There's no hurry in any of it. The town breathes together. Every person seems to move in quiet coordination with the next. The baker setting out loaves, the clerk unlocking the post office, the bell ringing at 8:30. You sip your coffee slowly, watching, listening. There's a music here that doesn't need melody. The sound of work, of laughter, of lives long settled into their shape. You realize that in Vermont, people don't chase time. They keep it, like a trusted companion. When you leave the diner, the waitress says, "Come back if you get hungry." You know she means it. Outside, the sun has climbed just high enough to cast shadows across the street. The warmth touches your shoulders, soft and kind. You wander past the general store. The window display is simple: jars of honey, fresh apples, and a small wooden sign that reads, "Locally made with care." Inside, the air smells of pine shelves and old paper. The owner, a woman in her 60s, looks up from behind the counter. "Morning," she says. "You're not from around here, are you?" You smile. "Not exactly." She nods, satisfied. "Well, Vermont's kind to those who don't rush it. Stay a few days. It'll start to feel like it's known you forever." You buy a small jar of honey just because it feels right. She wraps it in brown paper and ties it with string. "It's from the Miller farm up by the ridge," she says. "Their bees sleep late. Smart creatures." You thank her, step back outside, and for a long moment just stand there, jar in hand, sun on your face, the sound of a screen door closing somewhere down the street. A breeze stirs the flags along the storefronts. The air is bright with the scent of lilacs and freshly cut grass. The town square opens ahead, framed by elm trees. A few children chase each other around the fountain. Their laughter rises, echoing lightly against the brick walls. A dog trots past, tail wagging, as if it's got somewhere gentle to be. You sit on a wooden bench beneath the shade of an elm. The bench bears a small brass plate with a name you don't recognize. Someone who lived here. Someone who loved this place enough to leave a piece of themselves behind. The bell tower rings again, this time for 9. A flock of pigeons rises, circles once, then settles on the rooftops as if nothing has changed. You watch the world move in slow rhythm, not forward or backward, but simply as it should. You think of the porch, of last night's stillness, of the lake waiting somewhere beyond the hills. Everything here feels connected, each scene flowing quietly into the next. After a while, you rise and start back down the lane. The path home feels different now, not because it's changed, but because you have. You notice the details you missed before, the faint scent of wild mint growing by the fence, the shimmer of dew still clinging to the grass, the soft hum of bees drifting between blossoms. When the house finally comes into view again, it looks as if it's been expecting you. The porch waits, the rocker still angled toward the field. You set the jar of honey on the kitchen table and pour a glass of water from the old pitcher. Outside, the day hums with life. Distant laughter, a hammer striking wood, a tractor somewhere up the hill. All of it blends into a single, steady pulse. The rhythm of small-town life, unhurried, honest, whole. You lean against the porch rail and close your eyes. The wind carries the smell of maple and clover. The sound of the bell fades across the hills, replaced by the easy song of crickets waking early. Somewhere behind you, the man's voice calls from inside, calm and sure. Headed to the orchard later? You smile, thinking about it. He nods once. Good. Things worth seeing out there if you take your time. You glance toward the trees at the edge of the property. Their leaves shift in the light, silver and green, whispering something you almost understand. And as you stand there, letting the day stretch out before you, it becomes clear. This town, this house, this slow unfolding of hours, it isn't just a place you've come to. It's a rhythm you've remembered how to hear. The afternoon unfolds in layers, sunlight, birdsong, and the hush of wind moving through the high grass. The air has that lazy warmth only midsummer can hold, thick with the scent of clover and pine resin. Somewhere in the distance a lawnmower drones, far enough away to sound almost like a memory. You walk beyond the porch, across the gravel path, through the orchard, where the grass grows uneven and soft beneath your shoes. The apple trees stand in patient rows, their leaves trembling like they're whispering secrets to one another. A few unripe fruits hang low, pale green and faintly waxy, swaying in rhythm with the breeze. Bees trace circles in the air. Their sound isn't sharp, it's round, full, steady, a living hum. The man's voice follows faintly from the porch. Stay on the left past the wall. There's a view you'll want to see. You lift a hand in reply and keep walking. The stone wall marks the edge of the orchard. Its stones are round and warm from years of sun, stacked without mortar, each one resting in quiet cooperation with the next. Moss fills the gaps like soft stitching. When you touch the top, the texture surprises you. Smooth in places, rough in others, cool even in the heat. Beyond the wall, the land opens wide. A meadow spreads toward the foot of the green mountains, a slow roll of colour and motion. Wildflowers scatter themselves in loose clusters, Queen Anne's lace, purple aster, tiny yellow buttercups. Dragonflies flit low over the grass, wings flashing like shards of glass. There's a path here, faint but certain, pressed down by deer hooves and the boots of generations who've walked to the same ridge. You follow it, the grass brushing your legs, each step stirring the sweet, dry scent of summer. The sound of the crickets grows louder as the trees fall away behind you. For a while, you walk without thought. The mind grows quiet when the world around it refuses to hurry. Your heartbeat matches the pace of your steps, steady even. The air feels clean, stripped of every unnecessary thing. At the far end of the meadow stands a single maple, older than any fence or road nearby. Its branches spread wide like open arms. Beneath it, small wooden bench leans slightly to one side, weather-worn, silvered by time. You sit, and the wood creaks in greeting. From here, You can see almost everything. The orchard behind you, the town, a faint cluster of roofs and steeple beyond the fields, and further still, the blue shimmer of Lake Champlain. Between you and the horizon, the landscape rolls in gentle rhythm, every line soft, every color forgiving. You sit a while, listening. There's always something to hear if you let the silence breathe. The whir of grasshoppers, the distant murmur of a tractor, the soft percussion of leaves shifting overhead. It all weaves into one continuous sound, the low heartbeat of the countryside. A memory rises, unbidden but welcome. Another summer, another afternoon. Maybe you were younger then. Maybe someone beside you pointed out the same hills, said, "That's where the sun sets slowest." You can't place their face now, but you remember the warmth in their tone, the certainty that beauty was enough reason to pause. A shadow drifts over the grass, a hawk gliding low. It circles once, twice, then glides toward the forest. Its wings barely move, carried by invisible hands. You follow it until it disappears behind the trees, leaving only stillness in its wake. The air shifts again. Clouds drift across the sun, softening the light into gold. You breathe in, slow and full, and feel the warmth settle deep inside your chest. There's no need to speak. The landscape seems to be speaking for you. A small wooden fence lines the far edge of the field. Beyond it, a dirt track leads down toward a cluster of birches. Their white trunks stand like quiet sentinels. You walk that way, your fingers brushing the tall grass, each seed head leaving a faint tickle along your palm. The birch grove hums with its own quiet language. Leaves flickering silver and green, light dappling the path in moving shapes. Somewhere nearby, water trickles. You follow the sound until you find the source. A narrow brook slipping between smooth stones, shallow and clear. The sunlight catches on its surface, scattering patterns over your hands. You kneel and dip your fingers in. The water is cold enough to surprise you, sweet enough to make you laugh softly under your breath. You cup a little and take a sip. It tastes like minerals and rain and the kind of purity no bottle could ever hold. When you stand, droplets slide down your wrist, glinting before they vanish. You wipe them on your sleeve and keep walking along the stream. The ground slopes gently upward, leading to a rise where wildflowers thicken again. Butterflies dance between them. Small, deliberate movements, as if they're reading a code written in air. At the top of the hill, you pause. The view spreads open once more, wide and slow. The lake in the distance flashes silver under the lowering sun. Shadows stretch long over the fields. You hear the faint ring of the church bell again. Once, twice, 3 times, carried by the wind across miles of open air. You sit in the grass, the blades bending easily beneath you. The sun warms your skin, and the breeze cools it again, a soft balance that feels almost deliberate. You close your eyes. For a few moments, you sense everything. The heartbeat of the land beneath you, the weight of the sky above, the invisible threads connecting the house, the town, the meadow, and you. You don't know how long you stay like that. Time stops asking to be counted. Eventually, you rise, brushing the bits of grass from your hands. The day has tilted toward evening. The light has taken on that deep honey tone that makes every edge softer, every shadow forgiving. You follow the path back through the meadow. Bees return to their hives, their hum thick and low. The orchard glows ahead, its branches catching the last of the sun. The man is there, sitting on the porch steps, waiting. He raises a hand when he sees you. "Did you find it?" he asks. You nod. "Yes." He smiles, eyes crinkling. "Good. Most people walk right past it. Takes the right kind of quiet to see it proper." You step up onto the porch. The boards are warm beneath your feet, still holding the day. He pours 2 glasses of cold lemonade from a pitcher. You take one, the condensation slick against your palm. You sit side by side, watching the field settle into dusk. Fireflies return, patient and unhurried. The first whip-poor-will calls from somewhere beyond the orchard, answered a moment later by another. Neither of you speak. There's nothing left to say that the land hasn't already said for you. The horizon fades from gold to violet. The air cools. The glass in your hand sweats and drips. Somewhere far away, the faint sound of water reaches you. The same brook, the same endless voice of Vermont itself, carrying the story forward, whether you listen or not. And you think, sitting there beneath the quiet weight of the sky, that maybe this is what peace really means. Not the absence of sound or motion, but the perfect balance of both. The field breathing, the wind answering, the world holding steady just long enough for you to belong. Evening slides in gently, slow as honey. The world turns from gold to blue, and the air cools enough to wake the skin. The man finishes his glass of lemonade, sets it beside the step, and nods toward the open field. "You'll want to see the lake before the dark takes it," he says. "Go past the birches, keep left at the stone fence. You'll hear it before you see it." You take the path again, this time with the first sounds of night rising behind you. Crickets, the low hum of frogs, the sigh of wind in the orchard leaves. The sky deepens to violet. The light lingers along the tops of the hills like an ember refusing to die. The air changes as you near the water. It smells cleaner here, lighter, pine, sand, and something metallic and fresh. You can hear the soft percussion of small waves against the shore, rhythmic, patient. It's the same rhythm as a heartbeat, slowed and steady. The trees open and the lake appears, wide, still, enormous in its calm. Lake Champlain stretches to the horizon, its surface catching the last fragments of daylight like scattered glass. The far shore is barely visible, a darker blue against the fading sky. You stand at the edge for a while, letting your eyes adjust to the quiet expanse. The sound of the waves feels like breath itself. Inhale, exhale, forever. A single boat glides far out, its oars dipping in slow time. Each movement leaves a thread of ripples that spread and vanish without sound. A small wooden dock reaches into the lake like a thought extended. Its boards are old, silver grey, slightly uneven. You walk out onto it. The wood flexes softly under your weight, a reassuring give. You stop near the end and sit, your legs dangling just above the surface. The water below is black now, but not empty. It holds the reflection of the sky, the first stars, a thin sliver of moon, the faint blush of clouds drifting east. You dip a hand into it. It's cold, clean, perfectly smooth. When you lift your fingers, drops fall like pearls back into the stillness. Somewhere down the shoreline, someone is burning wood. The faint scent of smoke reaches you, mixed with pine and lake air. It doesn't spoil the stillness. It deepens it. You imagine a campfire near a cabin, quiet voices around it, maybe laughter soft enough to sound like wind. Behind you, the hills darken to silhouettes. The trees form a wall of soft shadow. The first frogs begin their chorus, not all at once but one after another, as if they're testing the acoustics of the night. You take a long breath. The cool air fills your lungs with something close to gratitude. Everything in this place seems to work in its own slow logic. The wind, the light, even your own thoughts. It's a rhythm too gentle to rush. You look across the water and think of how many people have watched this same lake at dusk. Farmers, travelers, children chasing fireflies, lovers in quiet boats. Each of them seeing the same reflection, each leaving nothing behind but a small piece of calm. The moon rises, pale and deliberate, its light spreading over the surface until the lake looks alive again. You watch as the ripples catch the silver, each wave like a thread of silk being pulled across the dark. The dock creaks beneath you, steady as a metronome. You lean back on your hands, feeling the warmth of the boards slowly drain away into the air. The night smells of damp wood and cool stone. For a long time, nothing happens, and that feels like the point. Then, faintly, a sound. Footsteps on gravel. You turn and see a figure approaching. The man from the house, his outline softened by the blue light. He stops near the edge of the dock, not quite stepping on. "Didn't mean to interrupt," he says, voice low. "Just wanted to make sure you found it." "I did," you answer. "It's beautiful." He nods. "Been looking at it near every day for 70 years. Still find something new each time." He pauses, looks over the water. "When I was a boy, I thought the lake had moods. Sometimes it smiled, sometimes it sulked, but it never lied." You smile at that. "And tonight?" He studies the water for a moment. "Tonight it's listening." The wind shifts then, carrying a small ripple across the lake. It runs beneath the dock, nudging the posts, whispering against the wood. You feel it vibrate through your shoes, gentle, fleeting. The man hears it too. He nods, satisfied. "Told you." He steps onto the dock and lowers himself beside you, knees cracking softly. From his pocket, he pulls a small tin of mints and offers you one. The gesture feels timeless, simple, enough. Together, you sit in silence, watching the world cool into night. The last of the daylight leaves the hills, and the stars multiply, unhurried and sure. Reflections shimmer, shift, reform. After a while, he speaks again. "Used to bring my wife down here every Sunday evening. We'd sit where you're sitting now. She'd say the lake made her feel like time was folding, like everything that ever happened was happening again, only quieter." He smiles faintly, the kind of smile built on memory, not pain. Never really understood what she meant, but I think maybe I do now. You don't respond. You don't have to. The moment doesn't ask for words. The frogs fall quiet for a few seconds, as if to listen too. Then they begin again, softly, endlessly. The man stands after a time, stretches, and looks toward the distant house. Its windows glow faintly against the dark. "I'll head back. Lanterns lit if you need it." You nod. "I'll stay a little longer." He places a hand briefly on your shoulder, light, certain, and walks away, his footsteps fading into the grass. You turn back to the lake. The moon has climbed higher, brighter now, silvering every ripple, every wave. The light gathers at the edge of the dock, shimmering like spilled mercury. The world feels suspended, between sound and silence, between motion and stillness. You think of everything you've seen today, the town, the orchard, the meadow, the path. Each part feels connected, like threads woven into a single quiet tapestry. When you close your eyes, the rhythm remains, the waves, the crickets, the pulse of the earth beneath the boards. Somewhere behind you, a screen door opens. The faint sound carries all the way across the field. Then it closes again. The wind moves once more, and the water answers. You stay until you can no longer tell where the lake ends and the night begins. By the time you leave the lake, night has fully arrived. Not sudden, not sharp, but like a slow tide rising until it's everywhere. The air carries that deep coolness that settles after long days of sun, and every sound feels amplified in the stillness. Your footsteps along the dirt path are soft, but even they seem too loud for the hush that has fallen over the fields. The way back to the house feels different now. The path is silver in places where moonlight breaks through the branches, then fades again into shadow. Crickets fill the air in 1,000 tiny threads of sound, weaving a fabric of life that stretches from the meadow to the hills. The night hums, it breathes, it waits. When you reach the orchard, you pause. The trees look otherworldly under the moon, their leaves glinting faintly, their trunks pale and steady. Somewhere within the rows, a small movement flashes. 1, 2, 3 points of light rising and falling, then another and another, until the entire orchard flickers with soft golden sparks. Fireflies, they drift between the trees as if tracing invisible music. Their glow appears, lingers, fades, then blooms again somewhere else. You watch for a long time without moving. The lights seem to follow a rhythm that your heart begins to match. Each pulse feels slower, softer, more deliberate. A breeze moves through the orchard, carrying with it the scent of apples and damp earth. It brushes across your face, cool and familiar, like an old friend's touch. The fireflies shift with it, gathering in brief constellations before scattering again. You step forward, deeper into the rows. The ground is soft beneath your shoes, the grass whispering at your ankles. Every few steps, a branch brushes your shoulder, dropping a bead of moisture from the evening air. The sound of the cricket swells and recedes, blending with the low murmur of the distant lake. When you stop again, the world feels suspended, not silent, but perfectly balanced. A faint hoot echoes from the woods, followed by the answering rustle of leaves. Somewhere close, a deer moves, careful and unseen. You realize how alive the night is, how full it becomes once the day's noise has vanished. You sit beneath one of the apple trees, its trunk solid and cool against your back. Above, the branches spread wide, heavy with small fruit that glints faintly in the moonlight. Between them, the fireflies continue their quiet dance, tiny lanterns in slow motion. It's here in this moment that you feel something change, not around you, but within. The day's thoughts, the small edges of memory, the quiet ache of time. They loosen, fall away, replaced by something simpler. Presence, breathing, stillness. You remember the man's words from earlier. You'll hear the whippoorwill soon. As if answering, the sound begins. One clear rising call, then another farther off. Their rhythm is steady, hypnotic, like two clocks ticking in gentle disagreement. The sound fills the orchard, echoing off the trees, mixing with the hum of the crickets and the soft, electric silence between. It's a sound that belongs here. Wild, yet comforting, both lonely and kind. You close your eyes and listen, letting it wash through you like water over stone. Somewhere behind you, in the direction of the house, a porch light glows faintly through the trees. You can see its warmth between the leaves, steady, constant, a beacon for whoever is still awake. You think of the man again, maybe already asleep in his chair, the newspaper folded neatly on the table beside him. You imagine the clock ticking in the hall, the kettle cooling on the stove, the slow rhythm of an old house breathing through the night. The fireflies drift lower now, closer to the grass. You can see their reflections in the dew, tiny flashes along the ground. The whole orchard feels alive, pulsing gently, like the earth itself is dreaming. You stay there until the whip-poor wills fade, until even the crickets seem to quiet their song. Only the wind remains, moving through the trees in long, measured sighs. It sounds like the lake again, that same slow whisper that has followed you all day, patient and steady. When you finally stand, your legs feel light, as if the earth has been holding you. You brush the grass from your hands, look once more at the fireflies, and whisper a quiet thank you. Not to anyone in particular, but to the night itself. The walk back to the house is short. The air feels cooler now, the smell of cedar and wood smoke stronger as you near the porch. You climb the steps carefully, every board beneath you answering with its low, familiar creak. The lantern still burns by the door, its glass fogged with warmth. You lift it gently and set it beside the railing, where its light spills softly onto the floorboards. For a moment, you just stand there, half in shadow, half in gold. The world feels impossibly large, and yet entirely within reach. From somewhere far beyond the orchard, thunder rolls, distant, lazy, like a giant turning in sleep. The wind picks up again, bringing the scent of rain that hasn't yet begun. The leaves shiver in response. The first cool drop lands on your arm. You step inside just as the rain starts to fall. It comes slow at first, then steadier, the sound like 1,000 small hands tapping gently on the roof. The window panes glisten, and the air fills with that deep, grounding smell of summer rain on earth. You leave the light on low, slip out of your shoes, and sink into the nearest chair. The house feels alive. Wood expanding, pipes sighing, the wind whispering through every seam. The sound of the rain merges with the last hum of crickets, the faint beat of drops on the porch roof. And as you sit there, listening, breathing, existing in the quiet center of the storm, you realize how complete the night feels. Every sound belongs, every moment fits. The fireflies still glow outside, their light softened now by the rain. They blink slower, steadier, like hearts finding rest. The rain lasts most of the night, sometimes heavy, sometimes gentle, always rhythmic. You sleep lightly, waking once to the sound of water running along the gutters, then drift off again to the soft percussion on the roof. By morning, the air is washed clean, cool and sharp with the scent of wet earth and pine. When you come downstairs, the man is already awake. He's sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, a small lantern still burning beside him, though the daylight has begun to gather through the windows. He looks up, nods, and gestures toward the counter. Coffee's there, cream in the blue pitcher. You pour a cup and sit across from him. The quiet between you is easy, unhurried. Outside, the orchard glistens, every branch hung with silver drops, every leaf trembling faintly in the morning wind. After a while, he says, "You ever notice how the rain leaves everything softer? Not just the ground, the air too, even the sounds." You nod. It's like the world exhales. He smiles at that, then leans back in his chair. My father used to say rain keeps the stories alive. Said every drop that hits the ground wakes one up. You can't see them, but they rise up like mist, wander around a while, then go back to sleep when the sun comes out. He takes another sip of coffee, eyes half-lidded. He used to tell us stories by lantern light, back before we had steady power out here. Nights just like this one. You could hear the rain, smell the wood smoke, and the only light in the whole house came from that one flame. He nods toward the lantern beside him. Its brass edges are tarnished, its handle worn smooth. Same one, still works fine. You study the flame. It's small but alive, its light moving in slow rhythms. The glow brushes the man's face, tracing every line of age, every shadow softened by memory. What kinds of stories, you ask? He smiles faintly, the kind that lives somewhere between nostalgia and peace. All kinds. Some about the lake, fishermen who swore they saw lights under the water. Others about the mountains, travelers who lost their way and found something else instead. But the ones that stuck with me weren't the big ones. They were the small ones, the ones about people who never left, who lived simple and quiet and knew the land by heart. He pauses, sets the cup down carefully. My father used to say a story doesn't need to be big to last. It just needs to be true in the quiet places. You let the words hang there. They seem to settle into the air the way dust does in a shaft of light. The rain eases outside, replaced by the soft drip of water from the eaves. The sky brightens to a pale silver. The man stands and reaches for the lantern, turning the knob until the flame steadies. "Come on," he says. "Let's take it to the porch." You follow him. The porch boards are still damp, the air heavy with the scent of cedar. He sets the lantern on the table between the chairs, though the morning light is more than enough now. It feels less like a light and more like a presence, a reminder. The two of you sit, and he begins to speak again, voice low, unhurried. There was a boy lived down near the creek. This would be, 60 years ago now. Quiet kind, kept to himself, always building things from scraps. His father was a farmer, his mother baked for the church. One summer, the boy decided he was going to make a boat. Not a big one, just enough for him to float out onto the lake. You listen, watching the lantern's reflection flicker in the glass. He worked all July, all August, out back of the barn. Folks laughed, said it wouldn't hold, said the boards were too thin, the pitch too weak. But he didn't stop. When he finally carried it to the lake, the thing did float, sat on the water like it belonged there. He rowed out a little ways, turned back toward shore, and just sat there watching the sunset. Didn't say a word to anyone. The next morning, the boat was gone. Folks figured it sank. But you know what my father said? You shake your head. He said sometimes the best things we make aren't meant to stay. They're meant to carry us far enough to understand why we built them. The man's voice softens. That boy left a few years later. Went west, I think. Never came back. But every now and then, someone swears they see a small wooden boat drift past at dusk. No oars, no one in it. Just moving with the current, heading somewhere calm. You don't ask if he believes it. You don't need to. Some stories aren't for belief. They're for remembering. The lantern flame trembles as the breeze touches it. You can smell the faint smoke of the wick, the hint of oil. The man reaches out and steadies the glass with his hand. That's how stories work, he says quietly. You keep the flame safe, but you don't hide it. You let it move. You let it find where it belongs. You sit there a while longer, watching the sky shift from grey to blue. The rain has stopped entirely now. Birds begin to move in the orchard, their calls cutting small holes in the silence. The man leans back, eyes half closed, as if he's listening for something only he can hear. You look out over the wet fields. The drops still cling to the grass, glinting like tiny mirrors. Everything feels renewed, freshly written. When the man finally speaks again, it's almost a whisper. Lantern light always told the truth better than daylight. Day's too sharp. Night lets the truth breathe. You glance at the lantern. Its glow has faded now, barely visible against the growing morning. Yet somehow it feels stronger, not in brightness, but in meaning. You rise, stretch, and take one last look at the hills beyond the orchard. Mist curls at their feet, rising slowly, the way the man described. Stories waking after rain. He stands too, lifting the lantern by its handle. The light flickers, catches on the metal rim, and then steadies. He nods once toward the field. Every night has something worth remembering, he says. You just have to sit still long enough to hear it. You step down from the porch, the grass cool beneath your feet, and look back once as the wind brushes the flame. For a heartbeat, it glows brighter, then settles again, constant and sure, as though it understands the rhythm of every story that's ever been told beneath its light. By late afternoon, the mist has lifted, leaving behind a world rinsed clean. Sunlight drapes over the orchard like a blanket of silk, each droplet on each leaf turning into a spark of gold. The air feels new again, soft, damp, alive. The kind of air that carries the scent of every good thing, earth, wood, and the faint sweetness of apples warming in the sun. You spend a while walking the edge of the property, listening to the faint buzz of bees returning to their work. The man is somewhere in the garden, trimming branches, humming to himself. It's a low tune, the kind that feels older than any words that might fit it. The day moves slowly. Shadows lengthen, but no one seems to mind. Even time feels content to linger. By the time the light turns amber, you can hear the faint clang of a bell. Dinner's ready. Inside the kitchen glows. The sun cuts through the window and lands on the table, where 2 plates wait. Steam rises from a cast iron pan on the stove. The smell is rich and steady. Roasted vegetables, fresh herbs, something buttery. The man turns from the counter, drying his hands on a towel. Didn't make much, he says, though the table looks like a feast. You sit opposite him, and for a while, you eat without talking. The only sounds are the clink of forks, the occasional shift of wood as the house settles. Every bite carries the taste of the land outside. The crisp sweetness of carrots, the salt of butter churned nearby, the faint tang of something grown and pulled and cooked within a mile of where you sit. After the plates are cleared, the man fills 2 mugs from a kettle and hands you one. The tea is strong and fragrant, steam curling into the golden air. Chamomile, he says, picked last week, helps slow things down. You smile. I think everything here already knows how to slow down. He chuckles softly. That's why it works. The kettle ticks as it cools. Outside, the evening light thickens, pooling in the corners of the room. You can feel the quiet settling deeper into the walls. Not silence, but something warmer, like the hum of a story half remembered. He gestures toward the living room. Come on, Fire's probably out, but we can fix that. The hearth sits at the far end of the room, built from rough fieldstone. A few embers still glow faintly at the base. He crouches, adds kindling, and strikes a match. The flame catches fast, licking the logs with soft orange light. Soon the fire begins to talk. Not loudly, but with that calm crackle that draws you closer without asking. You take a seat in the old armchair near the window. The cushion dips under your weight, shaping itself to you. The fabric smells faintly of cedar and smoke. The man settles across from you, resting his mug on the armrest. The firelight paints the room in shifting golds. Everything within it seems alive. The gleam of a brass clock, the shine of the wooden floor, the gentle movement of a curtain stirred by the evening breeze. Through the window, the first stars appear, soft as candle flames. The man leans back, eyes half closed. Used to have half the town in here some nights, back when winters were heavier and folks still needed a place to warm up. People would bring pie, maybe a fiddle. We'd sit up till near midnight, telling stories or saying nothing at all. Didn't matter which. The fire did most of the talking anyway. You imagine it. The room filled with laughter, the sound of boots stamping snow from the porch, the smell of spice and smoke. The warmth seems to echo from the walls themselves, stored from every night like that. He looks at the flames and adds quietly, "Funny thing though, even when the room was full, it always felt the same, peaceful, like everyone who stepped in knew they could stop pretending to be anywhere else." You sip your tea. It's still hot, floral and grounding. The warmth spreads through you in waves. The man stands and pulls a wool blanket from the back of the sofa, handing it to you without a word. "Gets cool after dark," he says, and returns to his chair. You drape it over your legs. The fabric is heavy, hand-woven, smelling faintly of wood smoke and lavender. You trace your fingers over the pattern. Small diamonds stitched in uneven rows, each one slightly different. Imperfect, but perfect in its honesty. The fire grows quieter, deeper, its voice lowering to a slow, steady murmur. Outside, the whip-paw wheels begin again. The sound threads through the open window like a lullaby that belongs to no one and everyone. "You sleep upstairs again tonight?" the man asks. You nod. "If that's all right." He waves a hand. "House has plenty of room. Besides, every room here is better when someone's breathing in it." That line lingers. It sounds simple, but it carries weight, like something he said before, to people long gone, to keep the air alive. The room drifts into stillness again. The only movement is the firelight, the way it plays over the man's hands, catching the small scars and creases earned from years of work. He seems at peace with all of it, the quiet, the waiting, the endless cycle of light and dark that defines this place. At some point, you realize you haven't spoken in minutes, maybe longer. The need to fill the silence has vanished. You listen instead to the soft ticking of the clock, the whisper of wind through the eaves, the deep, slow breath of the house itself. When the man finally stands, he moves quietly, setting his mug in the sink, adjusting the lantern wick by the door. "You'll find an extra blanket in the dresser," he says. "Nights can surprise you this time of year." He pauses in the doorway, one hand on the frame. "I'll be up early. If you're awake, the porch faces the sunrise." You nod, and he smiles faintly before disappearing down the hall. You stay a while longer. The fire burns lower until only the softest glow remains, the light just enough to hold the shadows back. The warmth lingers, wrapping around you, patient and kind. When you finally rise, you take the lantern with you. Its light sways as you move through the hall, brushing over old photographs. Faces caught in sepia smiles, eyes lit by the same Vermont sun. Upstairs, the bed waits just as you left it. The sheets are cool, the air faintly scented with cedar and rain. Through the window, the orchard glimmers under starlight. You place the lantern on the bedside table, its flame small but steady. The fire downstairs pops once, a final echo. You lie back, the wool blanket drawn to your chin, and the warmth settles in deep, not just from the room, but from the quiet acceptance that fills it. The last thing you hear before sleep takes you is the sound of the wind moving through the orchard, slow and even, like the breath of a world perfectly at rest. You wake sometime after midnight to the sound of stillness. It's the kind of quiet that has shape, thick, soft, alive. The rain has long since passed, and the world outside your window glows faintly silver beneath the moon. For a moment, you stay where you are, half dreaming. The sheets are cool against your skin, the wool blanket heavy and comforting. You can hear the faint creak of the house, the wood expanding, the beams sighing, the gentle, rhythmic breath of something old but kind. Then, from somewhere outside, comes a sound, small, steady, familiar. The breeze moving through the orchard. It's not calling you exactly, but it invites. You rise without thinking, pull on a sweater, and lift the lantern from the table. Its flame flickers awake, patient and warm. Down the stairs, the house greets you with shadows and memory. The air smells faintly of wood smoke and rain. On the table, the man's newspaper sits folded, a pen resting across it like punctuation to a day that's already complete. You open the screen door and step outside. The night greets you in full, cool, open, endless. The moon sits high above the hills, a white coin pressed into a sea of deep blue. The orchard gleams faintly, each leaf silvered by light. The air is heavy with scent, wet grass, apple bark, and the faint sweetness of clover. You walk slowly, lantern in hand. Its glow stretches ahead of you in a small circle, enough to see the path, but not enough to break the night. Fireflies move beyond its reach, brief sparks that appear, hover, vanish. The path is soft from the rain, your steps leaving, quiet impressions. Somewhere far off, a frog croaks, answered by another. Between them, the crickets hold the rhythm, never faltering. You reach the low stone wall and stop. The world beyond it is wide and still. The meadow rolls toward the horizon, a field of muted silver and shadow. Above it, the sky blooms with stars, countless, precise, unmoving. You tilt your head back and feel their weight. There is something eternal in a Vermont night. It doesn't rush. It doesn't demand. It simply is. You set the lantern on the wall and lean against the cool stone. Its surface holds the memory of the day's warmth, faint but alive. The light flickers and the shadows stretch and shift, merging with the shape of the field. For a long time, you just breathe. The air fills you in slow, measured waves. Each inhale carries the smell of rain and distant pine. Each exhale seems to carry a small weight away. Somewhere behind you, the house stands quietly, its windows dark now, its roof outlined against the sky. You can almost sense the man sleeping inside, steady, at peace. The house feels like it's breathing with him. The world feels larger out here and smaller at the same time. Every sound travels clearly. The call of an owl, the whisper of wind through grass, the faint rustle of your own sleeves. Everything belongs, nothing collides. You lift the lantern and continue walking along the edge of the orchard. The light dances across the trunks of the trees, revealing brief flashes of moss, bark, and shadow. The ground is uneven, but your steps find the rhythm easily, guided by instinct rather than sight. After a while, you come to a break in the trees where the meadow meets the woods. The brook you found earlier still runs there, faint but steady, its sound like a thread of silver woven through the dark. You crouch beside it, setting the lantern on a rock. The flame reflects in the water, scattering into dozens of tiny suns. You dip your hand into the current. It's cold again, sharper now. The chill climbs your wrist, reminding you of the world's endless patience. This water flowing long before you, long after. You listen to it, and it feels like the night is whispering in a language you once knew. The breeze shifts, brushing your face. You look up toward the far hills. Mist clings to them in ribbons, pale and thin. Beyond, the sky deepens, not darker, but deeper, as though you could step into it. You pick up the lantern and turn back toward the house. The path feels shorter now, each step lighter. The orchard hums softly with sleeping life. A rabbit darts across the trail, pauses, then disappears into the brush. You smile without meaning to. When you reach the porch, the boards welcome you again with their gentle, low creak. You set the lantern down on the railing and let its flame steady itself. For a while, you just stand there, looking back toward the field. The fireflies have returned, hundreds now, scattered across the grass, pulsing in gentle rhythm. It looks like the earth is breathing light. The stars above answer in their slow, infinite way. Between them, the dark feels alive, warm, infinite. You sit in the rocking chair, pull the blanket from the armrest, and wrap it around your shoulders. The night folds around you like a second skin. You can still hear the brook faintly, the crickets, the wind moving through the apple leaves. The rhythm is perfect, each sound an echo of another. You rock gently, forward and back, forward and back. Your breathing matches the motion. The warmth from the lantern and the coolness of the night find balance on your skin. You think, for just a moment, that the world feels exactly as it should. Nothing missing, nothing waiting. Only the slow pulse of a night that knows you're awake but doesn't mind. When the breeze shifts again, you rise, take the lantern, and step inside. You turn down the wick until the light softens to a glow barely there. A whisper of gold against the dark. Upstairs, the room waits. You place the lantern by the window, its flame flickering against the glass. The orchard outside shimmers faintly, the horizon glowing with the first hint of dawn far beyond the hills. You lie down again, the blanket still warm from your shoulders. The air through the window is cool and sweet, and as your eyes close, you realize the walk wasn't about seeing anything at all. It was about hearing the world remember you and letting it lull you gently back to sleep. The night deepens until sound itself feels like a memory. Even the crickets have slowed. Their rhythms softer now, broken by long pauses that stretch like breaths between dreams. The house holds the silence in its wooden frame. Floorboards, beams, and windows all in quiet agreement. A thin band of moonlight lies across the foot of the bed. It shifts slowly, almost imperceptibly, as clouds drift past outside. You lie awake for a moment, not restless, just aware. The air is cool against your skin. Somewhere far away, water drips from the eaves, steady, patient, the echo of the rain that came before. You rise, barefoot, and cross the room. The boards are smooth, cool beneath your steps. The lantern still burns low on the table beside the window. You turn the wick just enough for the flame to grow, and the room responds in gold and shadow. The walls breathe. The silence hums. Outside, the orchard glows faintly under the moon, leaves whispering though no wind moves. You can see the line of the old stone wall, silvered, its surface scattered with drops of dew. Beyond it, the meadow lies utterly still, not asleep exactly, but in a kind of suspended thought, as if the world itself has paused to listen. You lift the lantern and move quietly through the hall. The house gives the smallest creaks, not complaints but acknowledgements, the kind of sounds that belong only to places long loved. At the bottom of the stairs, you stop for a moment, hearing another rhythm layered over your own. The slow tick of the clock in the kitchen. It's a soft sound, almost hidden beneath the hush. You walk toward it, each tick carrying you closer to the center of the quiet. In the kitchen, the air smells faintly of cedar and the ghost of yesterday's tea. The moonlight filters through the curtain, drawing a pale square across the floor. On the counter sits the kettle, its metal faintly gleaming. You touch it, and it's cool, asleep like everything else. You pour a glass of water, the sound small and round in the stillness. When you drink, it tastes like time itself has slowed inside the glass. The man's lantern sits by the door, unlit. Beside it, his boots rest neatly on the mat, still damp from the rain. There's something comforting in their quietness, the simple evidence of another life, steady and known. You set your glass down, lift your lantern, and open the screen door. Outside, the night has become vast. The air is motionless, the stars impossibly sharp. The moon has climbed higher, scattering light across the orchard. The fireflies have gone now, replaced by something deeper. A dark that feels complete rather than empty. You sit on the porch steps, lantern beside you. The flame sways slightly, reflected in the glass panels. Every sound carries far in this stillness. A lone frog by the brook, a small branch settling, the faint hum of the power lines down in the valley. It's not loneliness, it's belonging, stripped of everything except quiet. You lean back against the railing and close your eyes. The night air wraps around you, cool but gentle. Every muscle seems to release its last bit of tension, as if your body understands something your thoughts haven't yet caught up to. When you open your eyes again, you notice how light the stars are here. Not white, but soft amber and blue. The constellations hang low over the hills. You can see their reflections faintly in the distant lake, a silver shimmer that moves when you breathe. You think of all the nights before this one, the rain, the fire, the lake at dusk, the quiet meals, the lantern stories. Each of them has folded into the next until they feel like pages of the same dream. The man's words return from earlier that day. You can always tell what kind of day you had by how quiet the evening feels. You realize this is what he meant. There's no weight left in the quiet, only calm. You close your eyes again and listen harder. Past the crickets, past the wind, past even your own heartbeat. Beneath it all, there's another sound, a low vibration, the earth itself turning. You can feel it in your bones, steady, old, kind. It's the same rhythm that hums through every story told here. The rhythm of waiting, of belonging, of returning home. The lantern flickers once, twice, then steadies again. Its glow casts long shadows over the porch, and for a moment the world feels perfectly balanced. One side light, one side dark, everything in harmony. Somewhere in the distance, a barn owl calls. Its voice floats across the orchard like smoke, then fades into the hills. The sound lingers long after it's gone, leaving behind a silence that feels sacred. You draw the blanket closer around your shoulders. The warmth mixes with the night air, creating that perfect equilibrium between comfort and cool. The fireflies might return soon, or maybe the first birds will. It doesn't matter. The night is whole as it is. When the clock inside strikes 2, its soft chime rolls through the house and across the porch. A reminder of time, but not a command. It marks the hour, and then the quiet folds back over it, seamless. You stand slowly, take the lantern, and turn toward the door. The flame wavers with your movement, casting small circles of light on the floorboards. Inside, the air is warmer, still scented faintly with cedar and tea. You turn down the wick, watching as the flame shrinks into a single trembling star. The room darkens, but not to black, to a gentle, honest shade of grey. When you climb the stairs, you don't feel tired exactly. You feel complete. The bed receives you as if it has been waiting all this time. The sheets are cool again, the pillow soft. You lie still, facing the window, watching the last movement of clouds drift past the moon. And as your breathing slows, you realize the stillness of midnight isn't absence at all. It's the sound of the world holding itself together, just long enough for you to rest within it. The first thing you notice is the light, not sunlight exactly, but something softer, filtered through memory. It glows at the edge of your thoughts, painting everything in the faint gold of nostalgia. You are still in the room, the same quilt, the same window. Yet something has shifted. The air feels weightless. Time has thinned. You're neither fully awake nor asleep. Somewhere in between. That gentle space where dreams begin not as visions, but as recollections. Outside, the world holds its breath. The night has cooled completely, the crickets now reduced to a few tired voices. The orchard glimmers faintly beneath the moon, each tree swaying with the rhythm of sleep. You watch the branches move and feel as though they're waving to another version of you, one who's walked this same ground before. You close your eyes, and the sound of the breeze folds into something older, a whisper of laughter, footsteps on gravel, the creak of a porch swing years younger than it is now. Then you're there, standing barefoot on the same porch, only brighter, newer. The boards still smell of fresh varnish, and from the kitchen comes the scent of peach pie cooling on the sill. Somewhere nearby, a radio hums a tune that no one's played in decades. You know this place, this moment, even though you've never lived it. It's Vermont as it might have been 50 years ago. Quieter still, somehow more tender. Down the road, a child rides a bicycle too big for him, his laughter chasing after the wind. A woman in a gingham dress hangs sheets on a line that ripples like sails. The air hums with warmth, with presence, with time that doesn't rush. You walk down the porch steps, the grass soft beneath your feet. The air smells of lilac and sun-warmed stone. A truck rattles past in the distance, its driver tipping his hat in greeting. Every sound is familiar, not remembered, but recognized, like the lyrics to a song you've always known. You follow the road toward the lake. It's earlier in the day here, late afternoon maybe. The sky burns blue, the kind of blue that never truly existed outside of summer memories. The water glitters, alive with sunlight. Children splash near the shore, their voices carrying across the air like wind chimes. On the dock sits the man, younger now, perhaps the age you are in waking life. He's mending a fishing line, his hat tipped low. When he sees you, he doesn't look surprised. He just smiles, nods once and says, "You took your time." You sit beside him. The boards are warm, the lake alive beneath them. The waves slap gently against the wood, patient as breathing. He speaks without looking at you. "Funny thing about summer," he says. "When it's here, you think it'll last forever. Then one day it just folds up and goes quiet. But the air never forgets. It keeps the sound of it, the color, the shape. You look out over the water. The horizon blurs. The sunlight wavers. The scene feels fragile, like a photograph caught between fingers." He continues, voice low. "That's what memory really is. It's not holding on. It's what the world keeps when you're not looking." You turn toward him, but his face is already shifting, the edges softening into light. The dock fades beneath you, the sky folds into itself, and soon all that remains is the sound of the waves, slower now, deeper, echoing through the dark. You open your eyes, and the room returns. The lantern glows on the bedside table, its wick turned low. The window is cracked, letting in the faintest scent of rain. The quilt is pulled to your chest, the pillow cool beneath your cheek. For a moment, you can't tell which world feels more real, the dream or this one. Both carry the same peace, the same warmth. You sit up, just enough to look outside. The moon hangs low, beginning its descent toward the western ridge. The orchard below is still, bathed in silver. The same trees, the same field. Yet it all feels touched by that other time, as if you'd walked through a door in your sleep and brought a piece of it back. You rest your hand on the windowsill. The wood is smooth, worn by years of others doing the same thing. Watching, remembering, waiting. The feeling that passes through you is not longing, it's continuity. You are part of a rhythm older than yourself, a chain of quiet moments that reach backward and forward at once. Somewhere in the distance, the whip-paw wills call again, faint and sure. Their voices thread through the air, weaving past and present into one endless song. You lie back down, eyes half closed. The quilt settles over you, heavy and kind. The sound of the breeze outside matches the rhythm of your breathing. The dream lingers, soft around the edges, refusing to fade completely. And in the space between waking and sleep, you understand. Vermont isn't just a place on a map. It's every summer that ever promised peace, every sunset that ever forgave the day. You exhale slowly. The room hums with quiet. The lantern's flame bows lower. And as the dream folds itself back into night, you let go. Not to forget, but to become part of the stillness that remembers everything. The house has fallen completely still. No creak, no wind, no sound except the slow and certain rhythm of the night itself. The lantern on the bedside table has gone out, leaving only a faint glow from the moon, soft as breath and water. The orchard beyond the window no longer stirs. The leaves hang motionless, silvered by the last light of the night. The air carries the scent of rain, of quiet soil. of the long summer hours that came before. Everything holds its place, the field, the trees, the walls, your own heartbeat, all steady, all one. Somewhere in the distance, a single owl calls once more, then stops. Silence follows, wide and unbroken. You turn slightly beneath the blanket, the fabric cool against your skin. The pillow fits the curve of your head as if it remembers. Every small detail, the soft weave of the sheet, the faint weight of air on your hands, settles you further. In the space between thought and dream, memory drifts like mist. The lake, the porch, the sound of the rain, the old stories told by lantern light. They move through your mind in slow, fluid rhythm, joining one another until they become a single, endless moment. There is no direction now, no past or next, only the hush of Vermont at rest. The breeze that slips through the window is gentle and cool. It carries the smell of pine and distant water. It fills the room and then leaves again, a soft reminder that even stillness has motion. Somewhere below, the clock in the kitchen gives one quiet tick, then another. Its sound folds into the rhythm of your breathing, into the pulse that drifts further from waking. The walls seem to hum, not with noise, but with presence. The kind of quiet that wraps around you and holds you in place. The kind of quiet that tells the body it is safe to release. Outside, the moon lowers toward the hills. Its light dims, not gone, but softened into blue. The stars follow, fading one by one. The world does not wake. It exhales. You feel the air grow warmer around you, not with daylight, but with rest. The orchard will glow again soon, but not yet. The house will fill with the smell of coffee and bread again, but not now. For this moment, all that exists is this breath, this bed, this night holding you like water holds a stone. The crickets have stopped. The frogs are quiet. Only the faint sound of the brook remains, whispering beyond the field. Even that sound grows slower, softer, until it becomes the same rhythm as your heart. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to see, only the slow drift into peace. Let the air move through you. Let the weight of the day dissolve. Let the quiet take the shape of sleep. And as the last hour of night passes, unseen, unhurried, you are already gone, floating deep within the stillness where Vermont keeps its dreams.